Organizations like the Royal United Services Institute, RUSI, Chatham House, the Institute for Government, IFG, the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy and the British Council demonstrate the UK's interest in soft power globally. Majority of soft power discussions in the House of Commons and House of Lords Select Committees revolve around the resources that generate Britain's soft power. Noted emphasis prioritizes tangible resources such as diplomacy, government, business and innovation, education and human capital, and culture. The relationship between culture, political values and foreign policy and influence appears to be quite easy to understand, but it could be quite difficult to implement, thereby giving off the all or nothing vibe. For instance, culture contains a wide range of elements including technology, science, food, sport, film, music, and human capital. Nation branding includes commercial brands, foreign policy directions, education, diplomacy, immigration, investment, tourism, people, culture, governance, and export. The intangible dimension being elusive implies that identifying the sources of soft power becomes difficult. The Institute for Government or Monocle Soft Power Index that ranks countries' elements of soft power identifies culture, diplomacy, and education as Britain's most important source of soft power, with government and business ranking as some of the lowest. In the case of Sweden, the elements are completely reverse. The indices encompass resources thought to generate attraction. Britain divides its sources of attraction, and subsequent soft power, into two, that is, societal and state resources. On the one hand, societal resources include sport, business and related resources, social-cultural institutions, education and human capital, language, and culture and heritage. On the other hand, state resources include the monarchy, diplomacy, and political values. The history of a good number of sports dates back to 19th century Britain. These sports include football, horse racing, cricket, rugby, and golf. Cricket remains to be one of the most popular sports behind football in Commonwealth countries, including Australia, Bangladesh, India, New Zealand, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Rugby is popular in Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, with new entrants in the sport's popularity being France, Italy, and Argentina. The rules of golf are still administered by the Royal and Ancient at St Andrews in collaboration with the US Golf Association. Britain ranks 10th in the Boston Consulting Group, BCG, and National Association of Manufacturers, NAM, Innovation Index, which account for how factors such as fiscal policy, patents, and technological transfers affect business performance. British companies are leading in sustainable construction solutions as per Vince Cable, a phenomenon that has been evidenced by securing massive international contracts. State-funded British Broadcasting Corporation is regarded as one of the major sources of Britain's soft power. Since its inception in 1922, the BBC has grown to become one of the largest broadcasters in the world, broadcasting in 27 languages and a worldwide audience of 150 million people as of around 2009, which has grown exponentially. Especially with the growth of the internet and availability of mobile devices, Britain has used the BBC to promote its global image and attractiveness by covering some of the major events in the country, including the Queen's and Princess Diana's funerals, royal weddings, and the 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games that were hosted by Britain. These events offer a great opportunity to showcase Britain's culture and traditions, which explains why some things are done the way they are in the world today. The British Council is also a social-cultural juggernaut in Britain's pursuit of soft power. The Council has developed cultural relations with emerging powers by working with over 30 million people globally and an additional 600 million through media, that is, television, radio, and digital media. There is a widespread consensus that Britain is a cultural superpower, especially with a cultural heritage that does not match its size. The country's historical landmarks, areas of natural beauty, and other sites are visited by millions of foreigners. William Shakespeare and J.K. Rowling top some of the bestseller novel charts in history, evidence of the writing prowess in Britain. British film has also not been left behind, with films like Bend It Like Beckham influencing women's football in India and Four Weddings and a Funeral being credited for widespread changes in attitudes towards the LGBTQ community owing to Simon Callow's character. The English language facilitates the projection of Ban Britain. English is the single most widely used language around the world. The prominence of English is evidenced by the fact that it is the most commonly used language on the internet that has a global reach. The global use of English has enabled Britain spread their culture and traditions throughout the world. The Cambridge and Oxford dictionaries are still published in Britain, evidencing Britain's command of the language. The widespread use of the English language is further cemented by the popularity of English education overseas. Over 3 million students overseas attend private schools that offer British education, that is a GCSE. Britain, together with America, has the most universities and other institutions of higher learning among the top 100 in the world. The high rankings of these institutions means that they attract many international students, which further exposes foreigners to the British culture. Short courses and exchange programs like Erasmus and the British University's Transatlantic Exchange Program give a taste of what Britain has to offer, with some specialised offerings like the Essex Summer School in Social Science Data Analysis setting international standards for training. British universities now have around 25 campuses overseas, particularly in Asia, where the University of Nottingham has been in the vanguard. As mentioned, Britain's state resources of acquiring soft power include the monarchy, diplomacy, and political values. Britain's political values make it attractive for studying, tourism, and work. Political values such as democracy, the rule of law, and diversity make Britain a multicultural society that accepts immigrants from other countries for school, business, and holiday. The UK passport ranks joint first with Finland and Sweden in the 2013 Henley & Partners Visa Restrictions Index of countries whose citizens are welcomed to other jurisdictions visa-free. Britain's commitment to democracy has been demonstrated by high rankings in good governance, civil liberties, and political rights. The high rankings remaining so despite scandals over how members of Parliament use public money, News International's phone hacking, Hillsborough police malpractices, and the role of GCHQ in the dealings exposed by Edward Snowden. All these were associated with damaging global headlines. Britain is one of the most networked countries in the global system, boasting of 270 diplomatic posts in 160 countries all over the world. These diplomatic posts are testament to Britain's interest in global diplomacy. Britain has connections in the developed OECD and the developing Commonwealth countries that boast of being home to 1.7 billion people, which is 25% of the world's population. The UK is also a key member in the United Nations Security Council, the group of 7 popularly known as G7, which was formerly G8 before the elimination of Russia, the European Union or EU until recently after Brexit, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization or NATO, and the OECD. Britain also has close bilateral ties with Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the US, with these ties focusing on both hard and soft power. Britain's international network and diplomatic ties facilitated its role in securing an unprecedented co-sponsorship for the UN Olympic truce from all 193 UN member states. The fact that the King is the head of the monarchy implies that he heads the Commonwealth, with this leadership role being exercised in a subtle manner. British influence is disseminated through the insatiable appetite of foreign public for the soap opera that is the royal family. The Queen's long reign, may she rest well, was a source of personal prestige that has also been a source of diplomatic ties. The ceremonial activities surrounding the monarchy have been a source of British history and political civility. The attractions to the British monarchy are converted into tangible assets as it contributes to a whopping £44 million in tourist activities annually. The British public spends £36 million annually on the Crown, which is similar to the German presidency without the benefits of tourist attraction. Britain becoming a republic, which is highly unlikely, would cause amaze and uproar in equal measure throughout the world, as well as dent Britain's soft power significantly.